These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another How About Them Celtics video. Sam and I here recording on Thursday, February 8th. We just wrapped up our trade deadline stream. Just recorded 2 videos for the 2 moves the Celtics
Recording
made
is all we do.
on the day of the trade deadline. But we're back because we need a video for tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about the remnants, the what comes after the trade deadline for the Celtics. So Celtics, to recap quickly. Exactly. To recap, 2 days ago, or before the deadline, I should say, the Celtics traded Lamar Stevens and a couple seconds for Xavier Tillman, kept their 15th roster spot open. Then they traded for Jaden Springer, a second-round pick, which filled their 15th and final roster spot. But then they traded Delano Banton to the Trailblazers in basically a player dump deal, the equivalent of their move that sent Justin Jackson to the Spurs last year, opening up a 15th roster spot again. So the Celtics now have a 15th roster spot open on the roster with Jaden Springer, Xavier Tillman in for Ben and Stevens. The question is, what are they going to do with the final roster spot? Now, they could do nothing. The Celtics could say, okay, we don't want to do anything. We're going to leave it open. We're not going to make any trades. We're not going to, add anybody for the buyout, et cetera, et cetera. However, they could add a 15th guy. They could say, hey, we'll bring in a buyout guy. We will, sign a player in free agency. We'll elevate Nemish Keita. So we're going to talk options. We're going to give our thoughts on the options, but that's the recap, quick pitch of the Celtics trade deadline. I'll let you speak now. Recap.
Yeah. I mean, a bunch of moves. Well, Thursday's moves were not the moves that anybody, I think, expected this team to make. When we were talking about deadline targets and potential guys they could go after, Tillman was mentioned. But we had no indication that it was going to be Jaden Springer. And we really didn't know that Banton would be the one to get dealt if they needed to just clear an extra spot, which is kind of strange, right? Like, going in, I would have probably guessed Svi. It would have been him. Like, Banton was actually playing like real minutes. And I suppose around the NBA today, we saw a little bit of that where it was like, wait, that guy is no longer on this team anymore. He just started. Like Killian Hayes was waived by the Pistons. Robin Lopez traded from the Bucks after starting a few days earlier. I know he's been rotting away on the bench a lot of the season, but teams have been willing to part with guys that are rotation guys. And I think what we talked about on the Banton video specifically was that the benefit to keeping somebody like Svi is that they have a specific skill set that can be useful in a playoff scenario. Banton's just kind of okay at everything, but Mikhailo can really, really knock down threes. And if you need somebody to just come in and fire him up, he's your guy. So now we've got a roster spot looking at all of us in the face, Jack.
That they do. Again, the question is who's going to fill it. And some guys who got traded today could get bought out. Victor Oladipo got waived by the Grizzlies. So if you really want the Celtics to go get a guy who's not going to play for them, I guess that's the guy, but that's not going to happen. Marcus Morris cannot be signed by the Celtics, just to inform the masses. Neither can Spencer Dinwiddie. Both make more than the non-taxpayer MLE, which means the Celtics, who are a tax team over the first apron, cannot sign them to a buyout spot. So no Marcus Morris, no Spencer Dinwiddie. Guys that could be options for them. Daniel House, waived by the Sixers. My thoughts? No. He's kind of washed. He's not very good. That is my thoughts on that. Obvious option, elevate Nemish Keita. Two-way players cannot play in the playoffs. So if you'd like to have the option even of playing Nemish Keita in a playoff series, you would need to elevate him to a standard contract. If I had to give my guess, that would be what they end up doing, and that would be another breaking news. Celtics signed Nemish Keita for the channel and for us to record. So hopefully it's not today because we have recorded a lot today. But outside of that, again, they can keep it open. They can see what pops up. They could see, maybe Blake Griffin has a last second, I should say, change of heart, which I don't see happening, but I suppose could. But any thoughts? Do you have any ideas? What do you think? What do you think?
So, in terms of free agent guys, we know the ones you mentioned they cannot sign. Kyle Lowry cannot be signed. I don't know if there's anybody else that has immediately had someone indicate that they will be bought out. But the only other one is Robin Lopez, who might get bought out or is going to get bought out by the Kings. who
Already
acquired him just before the. Yeah, he already has been. Whatever. Before the deadline. Do I think Robin Lopez would play on the Celtics? I don't. But I think Robin Lopez would be good vibes for the Celtics.
Sure.
Of course. His Twitter is one of the funniest things out there. Today he tweeted about how grateful he was to be teammates with Pat Bev, who unfortunately did not end up with the Celtics. And they were teammates for an hour and 45 minutes. Never even probably shared Bucks facilities with each other. So if the Celtics were to bring him in, I think that would be very on brand because of the emphasis we've heard surrounding this team's vibes and chemistry and how much they like each other. Like, I don't think Robin Lopez is somebody that's going to come in and mess all that up. I think he's somebody that would enhance it. I also think, or at least remember him as a pain in the ass to play in the playoffs. That one season when he was on the Bulls and they gave the Celtics a real run for their money in the first round, they took the first 2 home games off of him. So in that respect, I think he could be a break glass in case of emergency fun guy, but at the same time, like, they just traded for Tillman. Do you really need to bring another center? The answer is probably no. And if they do, it's going to be Neemias Queta.
The NFL season is wrapping up, and there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, the app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
But there is do they even really need him to be a two-way or non-two-way guy anymore? Or can they use that space for somebody else?
Other guys who we hadn't even thought of, who I'm reading a list from Brian Kalbrowski of USA Today. So shout out my colleague, I suppose. They cannot sign Kyle Lowry. Can't happen. He makes too much money. They could technically sign Killian Hayes. It's there. He got waived. Do the Hornets keep Seth Curry? Question. Didn't think of that. Saw it on the list. He is having what I believe to be the worst shooting season of his career, so it's probably
good
deal time. I will say worst shooting season of career is 36% from 3 on 2 attempts a game, and he's only playing 13 minutes. So he's not getting consistent run, which is very significant when you're talking about a guy who has gotten 20 plus minutes for most of his career. So that's an option. He makes little enough money with the Celtics, could sign him on the buyout market. Other guys they can't sign: Evan Fournier, Davis Bertans, Joe Harris, not allowed. Robin Lopez is allowed, as Sam mentioned. Mike Muscala, I think he'll end up sticking around in Pistons. That said, Detroit does have to make some moves. They do have to waive some guys because they added a lot of pieces at the deadline. So I do think there could be more to come out of Detroit. So Muscala is another option that could potentially happen.
Right, not Gallinari, right? Because he's actually played well for the Pistons.
Muscala started last night.
Okay.
He's played more for them, actually, I think, weirdly enough. Do the Jazz keep Otto Porter? Is another thing to, I suppose, look out for.
Maybe. Yeah, that would be not a bad one. I mean, especially if not giving anything up to bring in Otto Porter. It's not the worst thing in the world to add another wing. Somebody that has finals experience. Thanks for coming back. I just kept talking.
Good. Thank you. I was going to hit back, but I forgot to switch tabs or hit back, and so I left. Sorry, continue.
So I was saying Otto Porter is like a decent guy to bring in. He has the finals experience being on that Warriors team that beat the Celtics. He has length. He traditionally has been an okay 3-point shooter. Hasn't really carried over when he went to the Raptors. And he had dealt with some really like dumb injuries. He had like a foot injury, toe injury last year that kept him out. So he might be washed. But it's one of those, like, if you're going to bring in a buyout guy, I'm not going to really throw a fit.
Exactly.
It's not. You're not giving up anything. You're not risking anything. You're just bringing in somebody, unless they're a real prick. You're risking team chemistry, I guess. But haven't really heard any of that come out surrounding Otto Porter, so I wouldn't hate it.
Gallinari's the question mark. Do the Hawks buy out anybody to open up roster spots for whatever reason, like Patty Mills on the end of the bench there? But that doesn't seem enticing. Do the Spurs decide to buy out Chetty Osman? whatever. The Clippers or Tucker apparently doesn't want to buy out, but could the Clippers just say, no, we're buying you out, see you later? I guess they'd both have to agree, but
You wanted to
that'd
be a
funny.
pain in the ass for the last month? Get ready to go on waivers, buddy.
Do the Nets buy out Thad Young? Would you want Thad Young in Boston? Do the Wizards buy out DeLon Wright? That's a guy the Celtics could have wanted in trades. Maybe the interest was actually if the Wizards decide to buy him out. And you may say, why would they buy him out? Well, they don't really have a use for him, right? Would they rather just play their younger guys and just DeLon Wright want to go somewhere where he might play or could be on a team that actually plays in the postseason? So I don't hate DeLon Wright either. But if I had to guess, this feels like let's elevate Nemish Keita. That said, I also wouldn't put it past the Celtics to just wait. See how Xavier Tillman plays. And if he plays well enough, then maybe you sign a guard to that final spot and then just accept that Tillman would play in the playoffs instead of Keita. And if that's the case, I like DeLon Wright. That's probably my go-to now that I said it out loud. Seth Curry would be okay too, but maybe he wants to play for Charlotte because that's where his dad played. And so he grew up in Charlotte a little bit. But I like DeLon Wright. I like the Nemish Keita idea. Obviously, I would be fine with that too. But that's probably my go-to. Any final thoughts?
Just reminder, Celtics cannot sign Kyle Lowry, Spencer Dinwiddie, Marcus Morris Sr., Joe Harris. Who else?
Davis Bertans.
Evan Fournier.
There's more. Who is the more? Let's see. I just had a list up. If Andre Drummond gets bought out, they could sign him, even though I don't think he's getting bought out. They cannot sign Doug McDermott, even though he just got traded, so I don't think he's getting bought out. They can't sign. I think that's it.
Okay.
I think.
Well, those guys cannot be signed.
Could they? They could technically sign any of the Philly guys if they get bought out, like Robert Covington. If he gets bought out, they could sign. So if you want some Robert Covington, I guess.
Sure.
That could make sense. Furkan Korkmaz gets bought out, they could sign Furkan Korkmaz.
Got to get him.
But I like DeLon Wright. That's probably my favorite. Anyways. Thank you for tuning in.
You need Wright with the Springer edition. More experience.
Maybe not, but more veteran. You don't really need anything at this point, I think. And so I don't know if it matters necessarily. Maybe Otto Porter for the bench, like wing depth. It doesn't matter. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in. There was also a Clippers trade that we didn't talk about at the deadline. It was Denver gets cash, so the Nuggets made a trade too, and LA gets the rights to Ismael Kamagate. So in case you're wondering, the Clippers and the Nuggets did in fact make trades at the deadline. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate it. Let us know what you think of the Celtics' 15th final roster spot and who you think they should go after. I think Nemish Keita is the most obvious option. We appreciate you all for tuning in. Thanks for tuning into the stream. If you were there with us, make sure to subscribe to How About Them Celtics, and I'll let Sam wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily uploads or, random breaking news videos. You had 2 of them yesterday come out. You'll get the full pods, game recaps, film breakdowns, talking C's, rumor breakdowns, and any live stream, including the pregame ones that are live a half hour before every single game. Come hang out. Those are a ton of fun. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple. If you do that, you'll get the audio versions of the pods and game recaps coming at you on the streaming platforms. You can also email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. It's a great way to get in touch with us. We love to hear from you guys. We read your emails each and every podcast. So definitely send something our way. You can find us on socials at How About Them C's, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Facebook is just the name of the podcast. Our streams are there and on YouTube and also on Twitter. Jack's Twitter is at JacksMoneyNBA. Mine is at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.
Tic-tac-toe.